Good morning, everybody. This is Bob Turner coming back at you with podcast number 2. We did come up with a title. It's Ordinary People Doing Extraordinary Things. So then I Googled it and found out a lot of other people use that same title for some things. But oh well, that'll get us going. So this is week number 2. I committed to trying to get 52 people that were nice enough to come on and have a conversation with me for, half an hour, 40 minutes, whatever it takes, just to let you guys get to know somebody that's out there doing what I think are some extraordinary things. So this week we're sitting down with Amanda Stetson. She's a financial advisor in Falmouth, Maine, and she's a mother of 2 twins. So I thought it would be kind of cool to sit down with her and just chat about what that looks like coming up through and getting to kind of where you're at. The struggles of getting kind of a business off the ground with the challenges of having twins. On top of that, she also decided to throw in competing in fitness competitions, and we can talk a little bit about that. So with that, I'll introduce you to Amanda Stetson, and we can just talk a little bit about how you got where you're at, and give a brief introduction on who you are and what you're doing.
Sure. Hi, everyone, and Bob, thank you for having
Sure.
me. It's nice to be able to get out and chat and share a little bit about myself. So my name is Amanda Stetson, as Bob said, and I'm a financial advisor here in Falmouth, and born and raised here locally. Grew up as a Cape kid, went away to college at the age of 18, had to get out of here and see what life is all about outside of the confines of Portland Harbor. Went down to Tampa, Florida, studied there at the University of Tampa, did 3 years, and then I went abroad to Oxford University in the UK, and then came back here for a little bit, went to Costa Rica, studied abroad there, and returned back to Portland for a short stint. And then my life brought me down to North Carolina, where I went to graduate school at the University of North Carolina in Charlotte. Studied English, teaching English as a second language. And then, my life went a little bit sideways after I had my twins, and I found myself as a sole parent pretty much overnight, and the babies were 7 months old at the time. So I came back here to get some support from my family. And that's how my whole endeavor to Edward Jones kind of started.
So back to Maine, twins in tow.
Yep, boy and a girl.
And then, so you got here and you were like, all right, what am I going to do now?
Exactly. So with me having gone to graduate school to teach English as a second language, I was looking at having to go back to school here in the state of Maine to get the teaching license to be able to teach here in the public schools. So when you have 2 little babies going back to school, and I hadn't been a Maine State resident for years, so I was going to have to pay a hefty price to get back into the university system here. So I decided to put on my big girl panties, so to speak, and find a career that would provide me with some upward mobility and some autonomy and hopefully some money. So I went to a job fair in, I think it was October of 2013, and I met 2 financial advisors, lovely people, and I credit much of my success to them. I'm super grateful. But I put in an application. They encouraged me to put in the application. I did 10 rounds of interviews, I think it was, and it took about 3 months for the firm to, give me the go-ahead and let me know that they had hired me. So I spent about, 4 or 5 months maybe it was, studying for my Series 7, my Series 66, my Maine State Life and Health Insurance exams. And for anybody that has taken that Series 7, it's brutal.
Anything that starts with series, I'm out.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of work.
Oh, it was horrible. There were some nights when I had one infant on my chest and I'd have my laptop on my legs and then the other baby in the crib. And then, of course, if one baby woke up, I'd have to rearrange. It was a lot. But, so I ended up passing my exams. And then back to the drawing board, the firm said, okay, well, now you need to build a business. Okay, so how are we going to do that? I went to the town hall here in Falmouth and I got a map of the town, took it to Staples, had it enlarged and laminated, put it in the back of my car, and literally traipsed the roads of Falmouth knocking on doors. And if there's any Falmouth people that remember me, I apologize. Most people were really pretty nice on the doorstep.
Get some doors slammed in your face?
Yeah, and a few choice words said at me too. I saw some interesting things.
Did I see a post that you saved the shoes that you wore out doing that? Is that right?
Yep. So I still have the shoes. They're flats, and I had walked so many miles in those the first few years of my career that there are holes literally in the soles. So
Literally bootstrapped it. Just started with nothing.
Yep.
Started banging on doors.
Yep.
And how did it feel after you got your first couple of yeses?
Oh, are you kidding me? It's great. I'm high on life. You know that's all you want. Like if you get a yes, a couple of yeses in a day, it makes your day. It really does. But yeah, it's hard. The tenacity that it takes, and because I didn't have childcare all the time, I would take my kids to yard sales on Fridays and Saturday mornings.
You left them at a yard sale?
I brought them with, so sometimes I wanted to, but no, I had them with me in tow, and I wasn't necessarily dressed like, a professional. I would just get out and have conversations with people, and it was really quite a humbling experience. I mean, I look back, I certainly wouldn't want to start all over again, and for any advisors that are starting out, have faith, because once you get on the other side and the ball starts rolling, it's pretty amazing.
That's one of the things that I've wondered too, in getting into the financial advising business, where if you're young, you need some years behind you, and if you don't have that, it can be a real challenge, right? I mean, getting people to believe in you, to trust you. What do I want to give my money to this kid for?
Yep. No, you're right. I mean, I was 27 when I first started, and I think I looked younger than I actually was. But I have to say, a lot of it is how you carry yourself and the confidence that you have. And I try to be professional, but yet really transparent about who I was as an individual, because let's face it, at the end of the day, a portfolio and mutual funds and stocks and bonds, that's just the vehicle or the mechanism to help people get them to where they want to be in regards to their financial security and to help them live the life that they want. So I think just being myself.
Yeah. What was your biggest objection when you found him knocking on a door, or talking with somebody, or even have a meeting set up? What was the biggest, people's biggest resistance?
I already have an advisor.
I already have an advisor. And
I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, we're here in Falmouth. It's one of the most wealthy communities, and we have a lot of, there's a lot of money here. We're close to Portland. There's plenty of firms.
What do you say when you get that? So let's do that. So, hey, Bob, da-da-da. Well, I've already got an advisor.
No, that's great. That's fantastic. I'm really glad to hear that that you're already working with somebody. What is it that you like about them?
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. So you don't just turn around and you don't leave it at that.
No, and I just leave them. I would politely leave them my contact information. I said, if you have any questions, I'm right around the corner and I'm happy to help. And I think at the end of the day, that's the biggest thing, is I have never wanted to come across salesy. It's just not my style. Like, I genuinely want to help people. I mean, even to this day, there are some folks that truly need help, but they don't have, tons and tons of money. But my philosophy is, if you have somebody that's in your corner that can help you get from where you are today to where you want to be, it will come back tenfold. And I guess that's really what fills my cup. I come to work every day. There are other opportunities out there where I could make more money. But I like what I do because I know that I'm helping people and that I'm making a difference in people's lives. And that's, their cup is being filled, and so is mine.
So I guess what I'm hearing is that somebody doesn't have to have $1 million to come talk to you. Maybe they're just starting out. Maybe they're a 21, 2-year-old kid that needs to start investing. The folks said, hey, start planning a little bit earlier than I did. Go see Amanda.
Yeah, it's certainly worth having a conversation. And if they have a situation that I can't help with, like let's say somebody comes to me and needs some direction on debt management, that's not really my wheelhouse, but I work with a number of professionals in the area that are financial coaches that could help them. So I'm not just going to turn them away. They will have a next step, and that next step would be picking up the phone and calling that other person, and I would be making a warm introduction.
I think one of the things that struck me as unique about you when we first started working together was that I can't remember, something happened in the economy and my phone rang, and it was Amanda. And she called me for? Hey, Bob, I just wanted to, we're just reaching out to everybody to let you know that da-da-da-da happened. We're going to stay the course, or I'm going to move this to this. And I felt incredibly secure and relieved. And I said something like, yeah, just do whatever you think I should do. Thank you for the call. Boom. When I hung up the phone, I said, wow, that was really cool. I know you have 300-400 clients. That's a lot of phone calls on a Saturday. I think I got that call on a Saturday. And I was like, wow, I'm definitely with the right person here.
I love my job. I mean, I joke around and I say that Edward Jones is my third baby because I really feel that way. And based on my past and my history, I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it weren't for Edward Jones. I mean, it's given me a platform to change not only my life, but the lives of my kids. And like I said, it's all about the relationships, right? So if somebody's trusting me with their money and their livelihood, then I better know what's going on, and I better know the extent to which what's going on in their accounts could impact or derail their life goals and their trajectory.
It's a pretty big deal when somebody comes in, sits down, and it's very personal. It can be emotional. Somebody can be coming from either inheriting money or coming from a divorce, trying to hang on to money. I mean, you see it all, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I joke around sometimes and say, I feel like I'm Dr. Phil. I feel like some days I'm a chameleon too. I mean, we've got people calling over here where, to your point, somebody's inherited money because their spouse has passed away. And then the next phone call I might get, the daughter's going off to college and they need money. So yeah, money is a very emotional thing. But again, for me, it's important that the clients understand that I understand them.
Right.
And I do my best to try to make that happen by way of conversation and being able to speak in their terms.
Right. You can't just talk over them or around them. What have you seen in the last, I guess it's 2 years now that we've been dealing with COVID. What have you seen for behavioral changes within your client base? And are people investing more, getting nervous, pulling money out, doing crazy stuff?
So that's a great question. I have done my best over the years to try to set reasonable expectations for folks. And so, part of investing is there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. But for us, I think clients feel, I would say, fairly safe with comfortable, I think might be a better word. And they can sleep at night because we do have an eye on their money. And sure, I mean, March of 2020 came around and there were some phone calls and people got scared and wanted to move to cash. But I get excited because we hadn't seen that type of a market shift in years. So it was an opportunity. And interestingly enough, I would say that we actually had more inbound phone calls with people saying, hey, look, we have all this cash. What do we do with it? So, of course, I'm not about timing the market per se. It's time in the market. That's really where the payoff lies. But yeah, I mean, we've seen a huge shift. I mean, people used to come and meet with us here in the office, and I was just saying to you this morning that, I don't know, I think in the last year we've maybe had 15 clients come in here in the branch and meet with us. Most of our meetings, people want to do things remotely. We've onboarded clients from literally all over the United States, including Alaska, which was pretty cool.
Wow.
So yeah, we've had referrals from all over the place.
Well, that's good. What are a couple of things that you might say to someone that is considering getting into this field? I didn't hear you say finance, accounting, anything like that with regard to your educational background. So you didn't go to school and say, I want to be a financial advisor, yet here you are. So you're a 10-year overnight success, right?
Yeah, exactly, Bob. I wish. I'd like to know what page of whose book you're taking out.
Right. So you've been slugging it out for, is it about 10 years, right?
Yeah, it's been 8.
8 years. So
Yeah,
talk to me about, if there's a young guy or girl that's 22 coming out of school, what do you like about this business? What don't you like? And what's it take? What are the barriers to entry?
Sure. So that's a great question. I will tell you that this industry has a huge turnover because it takes so much grit. I think a lot of people start this business thinking that they're going to become millionaires overnight, and it just doesn't work like that. I mean, this job for me has been a marathon, not a sprint. And I would say it probably took, for me, because of the challenges that I faced in my personal life and trying to raise 2 little kids by myself, it wasn't really until about year 5 where I felt like things were getting easier. So for somebody that's starting out, you got to have a lot of grit, you've got to have a lot of tenacity, and you've got to be incredibly mentally strong, because there are days when you feel like all you're doing is swimming up creek.
Right. And you did it with a kid on each hip, so to speak.
Yep.
So, I mean, if somebody's looking at getting in this business and says, well, geez, I'm not raising twins by myself. So.
And I have to say, too, I mean, if you come from a profession that is not within the finance industry, a lot of advisors become incredibly successful because of the skill set that they bring to their branch. They offer so much more than, let's say, somebody who went to business school. Yeah, somebody that's book smart is going to, you know, they're bringing their own strengths to the table, but there are certainly other people, like teachers. The ones that I know that have worked for this firm that come from a teaching background are some of the most successful advisors.
Well, they say the best way to to learn something or relearn it is to teach it, right? So if you can teach it, you've got a pretty good grasp on it.
Yep.
Well, cool. Anything else about finance, financial advising, before we switch gears?
I just have to say that the best part of this job is the relationships. Absolutely, hands down. I mean, I've had the opportunity to go down to the hospital, you know, before COVID, shortly after one of our clients had a baby, to meet the family, to meet the new baby.
Yep.
I've spoken at a funeral. You really navigate some of life's biggest moments. The most intimate one, weddings have been really fun. I mean, there's obviously been some sad times too, but there's a bond there that when people open up to you and they feel comfortable, I feel like that's when the real bond happens, and I understand those individuals so much more. It's not just like, so tell me, when do you want to retire? What do you want to do in retirement? Yeah, that's important, but there's a lot more to the person than that.
You're becoming part of their family unit almost.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. I drive to work some days and I'm like, I don't know what I did to get so lucky.
Well, that's great.
I mean, then there are other days too where I'm like, all right, you know, when's the next cocktail? Somebody, you know,
Right, yeah.
when's 5 o'clock?
Is it Friday yet?
Yeah.
What do you do, speaking of cocktails and things like that? I know that it's the kind of business where you do a bunch of marketing and you do a bunch of socializing. What's a typical week look like for you on that end?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm a part of 3 different networking groups, so that's really fun. Pre-COVID, obviously, we'd meet in person, but with the last 2 years, we've seen a shift, moving everything onto Zoom, and I kind of like it. So I'm early morning meetings, either 8 or 8:30 for about an hour and a half. That's what, and then we've also, you know, tried to make it a point to be more proactive on our social media pages. So we do have a LinkedIn site, we have a Facebook page, and obviously my personal website as well. So.
Well, great.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the personal stuff. So,
oh boy. All right.
So, what, a couple of years ago, I guess it probably was, you decided you were going to do a fitness competition. So, for those of you that don't know what a fitness competition is, it's basically it's pretty up in your face, and you know, it's a bikini comp, really. And so you had to start committing to eating better or eating differently and being really dialed in on that. Going to the gym, like this very, very strict program, while still doing this, while still being a mom, while still being single.
Yep.
So, you know, talk to us about how you kind of got started with that and what that looks like.
So, back in 2010, I had I put together a bucket list, and competing in a fitness competition was one of those things that was on my list. And so I had the babies in 2012, and life was no longer my own for years. And my friend asked me if I wanted to do a bikini competition with her. And I was like, oh, this might be it.
Yeah.
This is what the fitness competition. And back in 2010, I had just put that on my bucket list, and I didn't know what that looked like. I really didn't. I didn't even know that these bikini competitions existed. I think back then I had something in my mind like, maybe weightlifting or, something just totally different than an actual show. So in the fall of 2019, I hired a coach out of Massachusetts. And again, I had no experience in this at all. So I was totally green. And she put together a program for me. So I found myself in the gym in the beginning, maybe 5 days a week, and then it became 6. And I had a show slated down in Florida this one was in Boston actually, in April of 2020. So
right in the middle of COVID.
Yeah, right in the middle of COVID. So I kept doing, obviously the gyms had shut down. And I was working from home, and then I would carve out an hour and a half to lift at the house and to do my cardio. And then the gyms reopened. I was like, oh, thank God. So much happier in the gym.
Yeah.
And the show kept on getting pushed out. So we went, I think, from April to June to August to October. And then I was like, I need a break. I just physically and mentally, I couldn't take it. So we took a couple of months off and then went back to the drawing board. I still trained and all that, but the prep was not, we were back to eating somewhat normal food.
That must have been rough because you're peaking for those and cutting calories and carbs and all that. I don't know the whole deal with that, but I know that you're angling toward this specific date. So to have that pulled out from under you repeatedly and then fall back to, okay, back to the gym, we're not going to do this goal right now. That had to be tough mentally.
Yeah, of course, because I felt like the finish line kept on getting moved out and moved out. And how many times it's really hard because most people in our shoes would train for an end date because it's really hard to maintain that type of a physique. It's not healthy at some point. So, we finally found a show down in Florida, and I flew down there, and it was great. It was awesome. And once you have the bug, you have the bug.
I can relate. I've done the triathlon stuff, and it kind of there's a parallel there. So I understand what you went through because, I would have people say to me, "Oh, you're still doing that crazy triathlon stuff." Like, what did you get for feedback from friends and family when you committed to this goal? And was it good or bad, or did it frustrate you, or did you feel supported? And what did all that look like?
I think initially people thought I was crazy and that given my lifestyle that it wouldn't be attainable. People were supportive, don't get me wrong, but the longer it went on, the more like they were like, are you really going to do this? But I'm the type of person that when I start something, I finish it. I don't care if it's going to take me 10 years. I'm going to make sure that it gets done. It was hard. I mean, I went down to Pennsylvania and I was on prep and I brought my scale and I was literally in the car weighing my food out on the dashboard of the car. And people were like, this is really extreme. Well, then it gets even more extreme. We're at the campsite and I'm over there pumping iron. I brought my weights. I brought my weights with me. And people are like, why can't you just do some push-ups? Like, this is ridiculous. Why can't you just, go for a run, go do the hills, we're in the mountains, go to the hills. Yeah. It doesn't work like that. You have to train certain muscle groups at certain times. So I didn't want to derail myself. I wanted to have fun. But yeah, the whole thing, going out to dinner, like try going to a barbecue and somebody hands you, a beer and you're like, sorry. I had a couple people be like, is everything okay? Meaning like, have I fallen? Am I an alcoholic? I'm like, no.
Right. You know what I found that I think that because they thought what I was doing was extreme, it kind of highlighted what they weren't doing.
Yeah.
All right. So if we were at a party and everybody's drinking and eating and doing what they want, and I was saying, I got a race coming up in June, and here we are in February, and we're making tough choices in February, but I want that feeling of going across the finish line. You wanted that feeling of being on stage knowing I did the plan, I made some sacrifices, and it was worth it, and I think that's in our community or society, whatever, I think that's a very small group of people that are willing to do that. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely.
That it's like, take New Year's resolutions, for example. Like, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to eat right. And then you see the group of people at the gym that blew up January 1st, all of a sudden March 1st, it's right back to the normal people that are at the gym.
Yep.
So I think there's very few people that are willing to make those sacrifices and changes. Now what we've done, like with me with Ironman and you with the fitness comps, yeah, it might be extreme. But what I get a kick out of is everybody will say, oh, you're doing that, you're riding your bike 100 miles on Saturday, you're at the gym for an hour and a half and you're eating, 3 green beans and a carrot. Not that bad, but however, nobody would ever say anything to you if you were sitting at the end of the bar down here at the the local watering hole 3 nights a week after bowling night or whatever, and you were having a half a dozen beers and a pizza. That's, for some reason, that's more acceptable than you pounding out an hour and a half at Planet Fitness while your kids are at, school or whatever.
Of course, because it's not the norm.
Right. So there is a little bit of a social impact to that, where oh yeah, she's doing that. Oh, you don't get invited to stuff. Like I had things I didn't get invited to because they're like, oh, we knew you weren't drinking. I'm like, I still would have liked to come,
Yeah, there are definitely sacrifices.
Yeah.
I did. I missed out on things, but I knew that it was for not a prolonged period of time. It was certainly longer than I had anticipated. But I would also argue that if this is something that you enjoy, which I do, it becomes a lifestyle.
Right.
And it becomes a part of who you are. It becomes part of your identity.
I found I was better business owner,
Yep.
better dad, husband, brother, son, friend, you name it. Like everything I was doing, I felt like I was better at because I had this heightened focus of, I've got to do all these things and do them well because on Saturday I'm going to ride my bike 100 miles and come home and I would never let anybody see that I was just trashed, tired. Bailey would say, hey, can we go here? Yep. Oh yeah. And I'd be like,
Well, I think when you put yourself through extreme training like that, or anything extreme that requires a lot of mental fortitude, you realize that you have much more capacity than you thought you did. Like we have the ability to do so much more. I mean, if you could have told me post-delivery of twins that I could have gotten my body in the shape that I was, I'm not in my prime now, but a year ago, I wouldn't have believed you. But I guess it just goes to show that we doubt ourselves. But if you have the mindset and you build the confidence along the way, you can do so much more than what you thought you could.
Would you agree too that your normal is different today than it may have been if you hadn't done that? Like I was talking with somebody yesterday about, I say, well, geez, my back hurts, my foot hurts, whatever. I've been banged up a little bit, Okay, well maybe that's 15 years of beating yourself up. But what do I look like if I didn't do any of that stuff for 15 years, and where am I at? So your normal might be, way out of shape if you hadn't had that mindset shift in that bunch of years where you had this routine and establishing good habits.
Absolutely. And it, again, going back to the fact that I've been a sole parent of twins, well, the babies, they're not babies anymore, they're 9.5, but you do lose yourself. And if you don't have anything to give to anybody else, you're absolutely useless. So my mindset became such that I put myself first and my self-care, because if I can fill my metaphorical bucket, I'm going to be so much better off.
They
for
call that
everybody else.
what is that analogy? The oxygen mask in the airplane, right? Put yours on first before you can help someone else. So it sounds like you did that.
Yeah, it was great. I need to get back to it.
I'm going to hold you to that. What would you say to someone that says, "Oh, I don't know, those guys are crazy. I don't have time for that."
You have time if you want to make it.
I ask people, did you watch Netflix
I was
last
going to
night?
say, how much time? Pull up your iPhone
Right.
and see how much time you logged on that thing. There's the weekly updates.
It's scary.
So if you're spending 6 hours a day on that thing, something is telling me.
Right.
Or, look, it's choice. Life is made up of choices, and I shouldn't be on my soapbox, but this is, if I'm going to get on a soapbox, it's going to be this one. We all have choices in life. What you get out of it is what you put into life.
Right.
So if you can get up in the morning, and instead of having your cup of coffee and scrolling on Facebook and having your cigarette outside, right?
Right.
I would argue that you can get your butt out of bed. And,
Yep. No, I've done that too. Try to rework the morning routine where I'm working with a business coach too, and it's before you grab that phone, grab your, your positive affirmations. What are the things that are going to be important to you today? Write 3 things down that you're going to try to accomplish today. And sometimes for me, it's just as simple as I'm just going to accomplish this one thing next before I move on. Because if I have that moment where, the phone goes off, the dog barks, because I work at home a lot too. There's any number of distractions that you have during the day that take you away from what you do, and it's very easy to get sidetracked, and then next thing you know, you're thumbing through Netflix or whatever. It's a different climate today, different business climate, with everything that's happened. Getting back to that a little bit, do you think there's going to be some real permanent changes from how people do business and operate through post-COVID, if there ever is one?
I think so. I mean, if there is a silver lining from this, the changes that we've seen the last 2 years, I would argue that we have so much more flexibility. And you don't have to be in person. I mean, I think there's something to be said for being in person. You can't replicate that over a screen. But there are so many people that, we see folks moving in different places across the country and relocating because they're finally able to live the lifestyle that they want.
Right.
They can achieve both things at the same time. They can still work for the same company, render, the technology that they're provided, the computers and everything else, but they can sit and, sit at their lake house and do it. They don't have to be sitting, in downtown Boston or
We've seen a lot of that in the remodel business where people are taking a property on the lake that they have had for years or has been in the family, and they're either knocking it down or expanding it. And they're selling their $500,000 place in New York or Massachusetts or wherever, or a $2 million place, and they're like, build me a new one.
I think it's awesome. I mean,
and work at the lake.
I know some people that bought an RV and put their 4 kids in it and did the remote schooling thing and traveled the country for 5 months. So you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You can still work, you can still make an income, but you can also have the experiences that I think more often than not, people were pushing off until much later on in life because they'd been chained to a desk.
I think it's changed people's perspective, where they're like live more, live for today type of thing, where they're doing things, they're getting out, they're checking off that things on their bucket list because, nothing's, you can't take anything for granted. Nothing's guaranteed.
Nope. It's not, and that's one thing that I've seen here in the office too, and having conversations with families is really the proactive planning, and specifically regarding estate plans and life insurance, because with all these people having gotten sick from COVID, I think people's eyes were opened, and they need to know that their loved ones are going to be cared for in the event something were to happen.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Well, before we wrap up, I just wanted to ask you, what has been your biggest challenge, both in the financial arena, and then also in the fitness arena?
Sure. And
then maybe one last one as a parent.
Sure. In regards to this business and working in this industry, it was hard in the beginning because back when I started, we got a 2-year salary, but that salary dwindled over those 2 years. So from a financial standpoint, I was super stressed out because here I was trying to take care of 2 kids and myself. And when you see your paycheck going down and down and down, you know that you better work your tail off to be able to find some other means of income. So for a while there, I racked up credit card debt. That was the biggest stressor, I think. And then also being able to meet the requirements and the hurdles that you have to in this industry in order to keep a job. That kept me up at night.
So a whole bunch of different hoops you have to jump through. I mean, even today, right? Just continuing education, staying sharp, staying on top of your game. You just don't all of a sudden end up in an office like this and just kind of fat cat it for the next 20 years, right?
This office did not exist, and I didn't have my business partner because, again, there are certain requirements that you have to meet in order for the firm to give you, the bells and whistles, so to speak. So, and what was the other? The question you'd asked me about the challenges in
fitness.
the mental piece for sure.
Yeah.
The food. I would say, going to the gym, yeah, there are days there when you're fighting and you don't in your head and you don't want to be there and every rep's a battle. But look, the pain is going to eventually go away. What I found to be the most difficult was the food, or the lack thereof, I guess.
Yeah.
Eating, similar meals. I mean, I actually kind of liked what I was eating, and I got to a point where I would crave it if I didn't have it.
Yeah.
But yeah, seeing the kids make a pan of brownies and I can't touch it.
What have their takeaways been from mom doing fitness comp, and what do you think that they got from that?
I think they see that there's reward. When I came home with the pictures and the medal that's up over there on my wall, and oh my God, Mommy, you did it! Like, you actually did it. And I think instilling those values into my kids and knowing that life gets busy, my kids know that their mother still took the time to take care of herself.
Right.
And I'm glad, because my goal in doing that is not only just to show up on a stage, but also to create habits that my kids can take with them in their life too.
Yeah, I always felt when I was doing my races that I had good days and bad days, and my daughter was able to see that, and see that no matter what, you push through, you don't give up, you stay committed, you get your sessions in, and I hope that in some way that's helped her develop her own approach to life and business and how she goes at it. So
yeah, I think too, in the society that we live in today, people expect things instantaneously, and they're entitled. And I don't want to say all people are like that, because that's not the case. But for me, it's important as their mother to know that even though things don't come easily, that you're gonna have to work for them.
Right.
But the reward is not going to be instantaneous, but it certainly is worth it when you get it.
Yep. Got to put the phone down, actually do something. So,
Yep.
because you're not just a Cape kid that had the financial planning business handed to you.
Oh, hell
right?
no.
but on the surface, somebody might say that, right? Like, oh yeah, she grew up Cape, and now she's doing financial planning business in Falmouth, and life's just easy, right?
I have a colorful past.
So challenges. Now I know that, and you haven't mentioned this, but you've since gotten married.
Yep, I got remarried.
So you got some help, and so what does that look like now? That's different versus say 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh my God. All right. So I got remarried to my best friend. He and I have been super close since we were 19, and it's now 16 years later. When he's around, it's a game changer, because I have an extra set of hands. I mean, things even like, I'm going to go to the grocery store. I'll be back in 20 minutes. I don't have to load the kids, make sure the dog's taken care of. It's easy. It's so much easier.
Yeah.
But
So you're enjoying that?
love it.
Yeah.
Yep. When he's here, he has a seat in the Florida House of Representatives right now. Long story behind that, but so he is in Tallahassee right now for work. I know he's been there for like a month, and he finishes up in March. So once that's all done, the tides will shift, and he'll be back up here.
So two busy careers, kind of a long distance relationship at times, but it works.
It works. I mean, I was by myself, for so long. Anyway, I mean, I had another relationship for a couple of years, but. It provides me with the autonomy that I've been used to having. I don't know. I personally, I like it. I mean, there are certainly challenges that come along with it. I wish that he were here more, but that will come.
Well, you're an empowered person. I always say, you don't need nothing from nobody, right?
Nope.
But it's nice to have somebody around, and somebody to run through life with, and kind of pick you up when you're down, and when you have a tough day, say, hey, can I just hit the road, and you got it. So.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, he's been part of my kids' lives since they were itty bitties.
Yeah.
So I think too that sense of familiarity for the kids is nice, and I didn't have to introduce somebody strange to the kids' lives. I wanted to be very cognizant to make sure that it's not like a carousel of men. We're going to try this guy out from Match.com. We're going to try this one out from Bumble. Nope.
I always say to people, if when you're by yourself or divorced or whatever, if you make every decision with what's best for the kids in mind, then life gets very simple, right?
Yep.
So what's next? This business is, you've got 8 years in here. Your kids are, you say 9? They're 9. You've got a medal hanging on the wall over here. You're going to put another one up. So what's going on? Where do you go from here?
So I did take a hiatus from the gym. Full transparency,
I
more
know
like
the feeling.
a 6-month hiatus. I just got back into it recently, feeling really good actually. So what's next? Emily and I are super focused on this business. I actually just got an email this morning that I've been invited by the firm to go get my CFP.
Nice.
So that is something that I might commit to. I'm not really sure if it's the right time in my life to do that because it's like another job.
Is that the top tier
Yeah.
of financial advisors?
It is. Yeah.
Credential.
Yes.
Good.
Yep. So there's that opportunity that landed in my lap this morning. So I have some thinking to do. I do feel really good about, I would love to compete again, but that requires a lot. And yeah, I'd have to go back to the drawing board.
I always say that I'm 12 weeks away from being ready for an Ironman at any time. I don't think that's the case right now. I know it's not.
It's not.
But it is nice to have that feeling where, like, you have done something at a high level, right? Like I was in the gym the other day lifting, just kind of doing some of that, and there's, the guys that are just jacked right there, and I'm lifting my small weights, and I'm going, yeah, let's go for a 10-mile run,
Yeah.
and I'm like, yeah, let's do that. I bet you can't swim 2 miles, but it's just fun to have that accomplishment under your belt and know that it's empowering. Like, you can do some things, and if you needed to run, you could, or if you had to lift something or help somebody, you're physically able. And I think that, we're getting to be a society that's just obese and just so deconditioned. And I'm not saying that from a soapbox because I've been all of that. And I've also been in good enough shape to do what I want on the racing circuit. So I know where you're coming from on that, but it's good to see somebody like you that's a busy mom, successful business professional, but also looking for other ways where you can say, yeah, what else can I do? So I think that can speak to a lot of people that are saying, well, I think I'll wrap up the next season of Yellowstone tonight. What's this next one about? And maybe we make a few people think today. This is Amanda Stetson. She's done a lot of neat things. She's a person that came into my life recently, and we became fast friends. You have an infectious energy about you. Anybody that hangs out with you and does business with you is better for it. So thanks for today.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it.
As we go out the door here, so to speak, is there anything you'd like to say? Probably about 12 people will see this. So.
I think if there's one thing that I hope that people walk away with is we have a lot more inside of ourselves than you think that you do. I going back to 2013 when my life turned upside down literally in a matter of days, and I was, became a sole parent, and I had no idea in which direction my life was going in. And now looking back 9 years, I now can see in the rearview mirror why I went through what I went through. So if you're going through a tough time, you might not know what your why is today, but give it time and you'll be amazed where life will lead you, and the opportunities that will come your way. There are silver linings. I didn't see them at the time, but I can promise you they're there.
Awesome. How does somebody get a hold of you if they want to talk, or if they want to talk about financial planning, or maybe even pick your brain about fitness?
Sure. So you guys are more than welcome to call me. I'll give you a couple of different numbers. If you're looking for some financial guidance, you're going to want to call 207-536-1210. And if it's more of a personal matter, you're welcome to call my cell phone, 207-807-1230. So.
All right, well, we're breaking the mold here early because I don't think she's ordinary, but she's doing extraordinary things. So thanks for taking the time with us. I appreciate it. And it's been a lot of fun to just sit and talk with you today.
Awesome.
So thanks a lot.